What's up, everybody? Jesse with BRSFresh. Today we're talking about all the different woods that we have here, some really cool ones that are going to make some beautiful designs in your tank. Let's take a look at each of them, starting with the super popular spiderwood. You guys know this already. Spiderwood is an amazing wood that you can put in your tank. It leaches some tannins, but usually not very many. And you can fix that by putting Seachem Purigen in your filter, for example, ChemiPure Green, that type of thing. But with spiderwood, you have so many different options for plants and things that can make this pop in your aquarium. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Over here, I'm just going to take you guys on a little studio tour right here and show you where spiderwood comes into play. We've got spiderwood growing out of our UNS 60E paludarium here. These two pieces that we intertwined and glued together in our touch points here and here, covered some of those glue points with moss. You can see that we've actually also glued other plants, both air plants as well as Anubias down here onto this spiderwood. It looks awesome. Another example of spiderwood, and also something important to know, is you can see this is a pretty new tank. This is only about a week or so old. And you might be able to notice that this has a little bit of a golden color to it. That's normal. That's something that you'll get from spiderwood. Just that's what tannins look like in water. If you're not familiar, just get started in this hobby. That's what that's going to look like. The other thing with spiderwood that you can see right here is when you put a piece of spiderwood in water, a new piece, you're going to get this white gel-like substance on here. And I don't know if you can pick that up on camera, but that white gel-like substance is a biofilm. It's actually not an algae. You can throw in amanos or snails. They will eat it. Or you can actually go in there with an airline tube, like a 1/4-inch tube, or maybe even a 1/2-inch tube, and you can actually vacuum it right off the wood. It's not going to hurt anything. It will actually go away on its own. Nothing to worry about. But it is something that is common on cut ends of the wood. So you'll see it on the tips, for example. The other thing, if you come in here and take a look at this end right here, you can see that it's been kind of crushed. And that's because it used to be a straight cut, but we actually took a pair of pliers and crushed the end, and that just gives it a much more natural look. So that's something to keep in mind with spiderwood. And I bet I can have, here you go, perfect example. So if you throw this in your tank, you might find cut ends like this. So what I'll typically do is you can hit that with a hammer, or you can break it with pliers. You don't have to like smash the whole thing, but just a little bit that doesn't make it look so cut, right? All right, so spiderwood on slate, the other benefit of spiderwood on slate, which we see here in that tank, you can't see the slate, that's the idea, is that you don't have to worry about floating. Spiderwood will float, so when you put it in your aquarium, you either want to tie it down, you want to attach it to a rock, or just pick up this spiderwood on slate. We've got a couple different sizes of it, even smaller than this, and then you're set to go from the get-go. It's not going to float in your aquarium. If you don't, and you want to just pick up a piece of spiderwood like this, right, that is and you're not going to attach it to anything, then you can boil it. And when you boil it for really about a half hour, 45 minutes, you're going to get rid of all those tannins. You're going to saturate it with water, and it's going to sink. You'll know when it's ready when it sinks in the water that you're boiling it in. Okay, so next, let's talk about our Malaysian driftwood. Now, this is obviously a much different look than spiderwood. This driftwood has so many different little pockets that you can put Anubias, Java ferns, epiphytes in, all sorts of cool little caves that you can create. You can see here if this was down like that for fish to swim in. One of the things I love to do with driftwood is make little combinations of it like this, just to make little interest areas in your tank. I'll show you an example of that right here. You can probably see it from right where you're at. This tank right back here is actually 3 pieces of driftwood. You can see them popping out. And don't be afraid to have the wood come out of the water. We're doing it there, we're doing it here. But these 3 pieces of wood are actually glued together to form this island, or this little peninsula that's coming out of the corner. And that looks super cool too. So don't be afraid to combine these pieces of driftwood. Another example, come check this out over here. We made something much more dramatic with the driftwood, right? So you've got multiple pieces right here. And in this case, we actually zip tied one. And typically we have that covered with plants, but we trimmed recently. And you can see we've created this really cool look from multiple pieces of driftwood. So that's what you can do with driftwood. Again, it is going to need to be either waterlogged, tied down to a rock or something like that, or boiled to make sure that it sinks. Now, moving on to a different driftwood that we have, this is our Amazon wood. This wood is so cool. This is like if our driftwood and our spiderwood had a baby, you'd have Amazon wood. And what I love about this Amazon wood is just look at it. It's unlike anything else. Look at the structure. Look at all the designs that are in here. You can make some really cool things in your aquarium. And again, very nice, convenient pockets for plants. You can imagine if you took these and you were creating like combination structures like this, right? With the different sides of the wood facing out, you can do so much with this. That's why I love the Amazon wood. And then I gotta tell you guys, this one might be my favorite, dragonwood. It's aptly named dragonwood because if you take a piece of dragonwood, or dragonstone, excuse me, take a piece of dragonstone and you look at it, you can see where they got the name, right? So this is an amazing piece of driftwood, something that you don't really see in a lot of tanks. And it has, you know, we've got different sizes here that you can get, but you can do awesome stuff with this. You can imagine the shrimp and the fish swimming through this, but you also don't have to leave it exposed. Again, you could put epiphytes around it, but you also could do something with Monte Carlo, for example. Take a look at this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll grab the piece of wood. We'll travel over here, and I'll show you what I got going on here on this little river tank. So what we've done is we've taken a big piece of spiderwood, and we've put Monte Carlo on it, and we've not zip tied, but we've taken some string and attached the Monte Carlo. It's already starting to grow down, but you can do this exact thing with dragonwood. So if you can imagine this piece of wood right here, and maybe it's in a long tank like this, you could angle it up like this, or you could lay it down like that, and then you could plant Monte Carlo along it and actually green the whole structure out and really make something cool. All right, next we've got our Pacific driftwood, you guys. This is a beautiful piece of wood. Now, I'm actually from the West Coast, and I can tell you right now that this reminds me of the type of driftwood I'd see along the beaches in California. It is a little bit denser than our Malaysian driftwood. It's actually gonna sink faster than the driftwood we were talking about before. But just as a combination, or a comparison, I should say, you can really see the difference. We got our Pacific wood, we got our Malaysian wood, and then we've got our Amazon wood. And just check out the differences between these and really how cool each one of them is. And imagine the different types of things that you can come up with, designs, natural biotopes or settings that you can put into your aquarium with these woods. It's gonna be beautiful. Okay, so that's a little tour through different woods, how you can use them, how you can put plants on them. Want to make sure that you guys know all the different options you have to make a beautiful aquascape. We'll see you next time.